Hello, it's another busy day in the garden here. I'm gearing up to shift some plants. Thanks for joining me today. I'm all geared up with my hat, gloves, boots. Yep, they're my boots. And I've got my jacket because it's cold outside and we're ready to go. Today I'm going to attack and shift some of these daisies. Like a lot of plants, they don't like being contained. They like to spread over the path. My husband Paul put these red brick pavers down. I do like the daisies, but I think it's a shame they've covered up the bricks. My favourite shovel, Lucille, is going to help me with the moving today. I'm going to follow the line of the bricks and cut the plants so that I can put them in the wheelbarrow and shift them to another part of the garden. It's very early spring and we had an inch of rain last night. Technically, it's the wrong time of the year to shift them. They're in full bud and going to flower very soon. As a gardener, I don't always do things by the book, and at least it's giving these daisies a second chance. And a bonus, I'll be getting some free plants for that other part of the garden that I'll show you soon. Lucille is my instrument of choice here at Itchy Palms. I want to show you how you can make your plants go further and how you can divide them at your place so you don't have to spend so much money at the nursery. The ground here is very moist from the rain we had last night, and hopefully we'll get a few cooler days before the weather starts heating up, so these plants will be able to establish themselves before the hot weather settles in. I've put all the daisies in the wheelbarrow, and now you can see the brick pavers that were previously covered by them. Lucille helped me cut along the line of the bricks. Then I've carefully tried to pull the daisies out with as much root as possible. Now I'm just going to tidy up where they were and expose the red bricks a bit better. Just removing all the soil and sand from those bricks and stamping it down where the roots had actually invaded the sandy path and grown into it. Lucille is laying down, lounging back next to the newly exposed bricks. Well done, Lucille. As you can see, we have a wheelbarrow full of daisy cuttings that will be going to Pepper Grove shortly. Here's a closer look at the pretty rusty red daisy. I've wheeled the wheelbarrow 200 metres away to what we call Pepper Grove. Winter has just finished and you can see here that the garden looks pretty bleak. In a few months it should look like this. There's a border of blue agapanthus. Behind them are the rusty coloured leaves of the Tropicana canna. The greyish leaves of the daisy and the rusty coloured flower should look nice against this backdrop. What do you think? This is roughly where I'll be planting them. And that pathway there is Pepper Grove. I've done a little sketch of what we're going to be doing with these daisy cuttings. Unfortunately, in order for them to survive, I'll have to be cutting the flowers and the buds and at least a third of the leaves off. I'll cut off any dry or damaged pieces of the root so they don't rot in the ground. What we want is nice, healthy, clean pieces. Right, I'm gloving up again and Lucille and I are going to dig some nice holes for these cuttings to be planted into. I've got a bit of a vision in my mind of where I want them planted, and if any of the pieces die, I can always replant them in the autumn when it's the right time to shift things. I'm just hoping I don't actually dig through another one of those irrigation hoses. They seem to be a little bit magnetic towards my shovel. Here I've roughly laid out the pieces where I want them in the garden bed before planting. Quite a few of the pieces do have a bit of a root system on them. The soil in these garden beds is quite good. They've had years of mulch put on them, quite a lot of bales of straw and leaf material over the years, and quite a bit of manure. And there's plenty of worms around at the moment, which is really good. I can't wait to show you the progression of this garden bed and how these have hopefully taken root and flowered in the future. There's always something to look forward to when you're gardening. Today I've planted some and pruned them after I've planted them. You can do it any way you like, there's no set way. Just as long as you put the roots in the ground and leave the leaves on the top. It's important to get the polarity right, or else they won't grow at all. Now I'm going to go along and give them all a bit of a trim. Now they're in the ground, and sadly I have to take most of the flowers off and quite a bit of that foliage, but it's all to get healthy plants in the end. If they really like it in the ground, they still might send up new flowers for this season. The reason I'm being so brutal is because there really isn't much of a root system on these cuttings, and the plant has to develop some sort of a root system before it can grow. If I left all the flowers and leaves on the plant would be putting all its energy into growing those flowers, because that's what they like to do, reproduce. Hopefully the roots will settle in and develop enough to withstand the hot summer that's coming. Sometimes I even cover the whole plant up with a bag or a box for a few days, just so they don't go into shock when the sun starts shining on them. But hopefully this week we're going to have a few overcast days anyway. Once they're all trimmed, planted and firmed in, I'll give them a really good water. Hopefully it'll rain a few times in the next few days, and in the next few weeks I'll have to give them follow-up waters just to get them established before that hot weather comes. Well, my new daisy border is all planted now, and best of all, it was free. Here's a hot poker border I planted a few years ago. And here's an agapanthus border. Thanks so much for feeding my obsession. I'll see you soon.